making Bucatini Amatriciano. All right? Basically, you like that? Okay. Basically, it's a pasta. So Bucatini, buca meaning buca, tini meaning tiny. Okay, like the real sort of definition of this means it's pierced. So there's actually like a hole through the center of the noodle. So bucatini is like a much thicker. It's like twice the thickness of like say spaghetti or linguine, right? So it's got some bite to it, but there's a hole right through the middle of it. How do they do that? It's tomato, a little spicy. It has usually guanciale, which is the jowls of the pork. So it's usually like the jowl bacon, so to speak. Guanciale is the classic, but it definitely is gamey. If you can't find guanciale or you want something a little bit milder, just use bacon. I mean, we all like bacon, right? So Amatriciana has tomatoes and bacon. A lot of times in Rome, they won't put any fresh herbs in it. I'm gonna put a little oregano, maybe some parsley just to kind of freshen it up. It's got some onions and some garlic and the tomato, and that's it, okay? And bacon, and then some pecorino cheese. Let's start by making the sauce, okay? So what I like to do is I like to take the bacon and just slice it into sort of bigger pieces. Usually I buy like a thick cut bacon at the store because as you know, when you cook bacon, it really melts away. So I want it to have a little bit of bite to it when you're actually eating it, but I want to crisp up the bacon. So we're going to start with, we're going to put the bacon right into the pot. And I'm just going to toss a little bit of olive oil on top of it, just to kind of get it going, not a lot. And that's going to render the fat. And one of the great things about this is obviously bacon makes everything taste good. And again, it's like if you want to make the classic, use guanciale. Just remember, it's going to have a much stronger, almost gamier flavor to it. Okay, so we're going to let that cook. And then I'm going to use some good quality canned tomatoes. And what I do is I don't buy the puree, I buy whole peeled tomatoes. It's in some of the juices. And, you want a good sort of San Marzano tomato or good quality canned tomatoes. And then we have some pecorino cheese, which is, it's a little bit sort of earthier than Parmigiano. Some onions. I'm going to use some garlic, and that's it. We're going to get going, and then we're going to cook the dried pasta here. Now this pasta is probably going to take about 6 or 7 minutes, and to get it to al dente. So salt. So here we have some boiling water. And we're going to put a bunch of salt in here, more than you probably think you need. And the idea is you want it to taste like seawater. That's the key. You take the pasta, you kind of put it in evenly. Make sure it gets all down there. Rapid boil. So, then we're going to dice the onion. I just love making Italian food. I've been like obsessed with Italy now for like the last 10 years. I go there as much as I can. Just everything about Italy is just has my soul. And especially the food. And the people. And the Campari. Reserve the bacon, nice and crispy. And then we have the bacon fat. And you might say, like, that seems like a lot of bacon fat. Yeah, who cares? Like, that's all gonna be in the sauce. Delicious. So we're gonna sweat our onions right in the bacon fat. And like when you're in Rome, you'll find that like garlic is used, but very sparingly. You know, I think like in Italian American dishes, we use a lot more garlic than in Italian dishes. Right, Nacho? I always crush my garlic so that when it cooks into the, in this case, the bacon fat or oil or whatever you're cooking it in, it basically melts into the sauce. You want it to melt away, all right? Just like this. You start with the onions, then you add the garlic. If you add the garlic first, by the time the onions cook, the garlic's gonna be overcooked. We're gonna add tomatoes, the whole can, everything. So what I do is I let this cook for about 15 to 20 minutes so that all of the, so that I let it cook so that the tomatoes soften. And then once the tomatoes soften, I'm gonna crush them with like a potato masher. And I crush the tomatoes when they're soft and they're warm. This sauce is only gonna cook for about 45 minutes. All right, I want the tomatoes to cook. I want to take the rawness out of the tomatoes, but I also want to retain some of the freshness of it. Okay, I want it to be a little bit brighter than that. Here's one of the things, before you drain out the pasta, take a cup, I use a measuring cup for this, and take some of the pasta water out. Because we want some of the starch from the pasta in the water to actually help make the sauce. Does anybody have a colander? Oh, thank you. Let's drain this out. Never put cold water over it. You don't want to you don't want to waterlog your pasta. Looks good, right? I'm gonna cover this sauce. I'm gonna leave it on low, cover it, so that it doesn't reduce. Okay? And it's just gonna help the sauce cook more evenly. So I'm gonna let that cook for about another 15 minutes, then I can crush the tomatoes. So we're gonna take a look at our tomatoes now. It's been for about 20 minutes, right? And now we can crush the tomatoes. See how they just crush away because they're nice and soft now? And you have this nice, like, beautiful sauce with a nice texture to it, like good contrast texture. So, John and I went to Italy this year to shoot a series for the Food Network that's going to come out in the summer. And we went to one of my favorite trattorias in Rome, Da Francesco, and we had the four pastas. The four classic pastas that we talked about: cacio e pepe, carbonara, gricia, and amatriciano. And you know, we sat around a table. There was four of us there, and I think that amatriciano may have won the contest. It's just that thing. It's like the sweetness and the acidity of the tomato that just, it's tough to beat. So now we can get to the finishing touches of the amatriciano. So this is some crushed red pepper. Be careful, you don't need too much. Live my life on a chili pepper of some sort. So putting some Calabrian red pepper flakes in there. And then I'm gonna put the pasta in there. Now, even though we've seasoned the pasta water, you want to salt and pepper the pasta itself before you put it in the sauce. Okay? Then you're going to take some of the pecorino cheese that we grated ahead of time. And you season the pasta with the pecorino. And then like a splash of pasta water. And you swirl it around. If you want to be like Scott Conant, you finish it with some butter. And you take a look at what's going on in this pot. Okay, so here's the deal. You don't want to over sauce the pasta. You just basically want to dress the pasta. You don't want it like you know, sitting in tons of sauce. And you can see we're cooking the pasta. We're finishing the pasta in the hot sauce. And then our parsley and our oregano, very last second. I mean, literally, the last second right before you plate it. That looks good. You see how the sauce is glazing the pasta? Some more pecorino on top. A little splash of olive oil. Why not? And then don't forget, the guanciale or bacon. Mangiare. All right, guys. I didn't invent it. I just cooked it. Bucatini Amatriciano.